Greetings, it's good afternoon. This is the meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education Finance Committee meeting on April 11th, 2024 at 2:30 p.m. in the District Education Services Center, Conference Room E, and remote video conferencing. This meeting will be live streamed by the county channel. Requests for public comments participation will be accepted between 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. by sending an email with your name, phone number, and topic to robin.cushenberry@beaufortk12.sc.us. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
I'm not going to read the instructions. Committee members present, myself, Mr. Campbell, and Ms. Hay. The first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the next item is approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion that we approve today's agenda.
Seconded.
Ms. Hay, would you second that, please?
Oh, could you hear me? Oops. Can you hear me?
Hear her. She's talking, but I don't hear her.
I don't hear you.
She's not muted.
Can you hear me?
Elizabeth, can you hear us?
Yes, she just texted it. Yes. I can't hear her.
And
I'm on my way down. Just a second.
No. No one can hear me. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the technology, but we can move forward at the moment.
Okay. Ms. Hay, could you second it by text? Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Mr. Campbell?
No, I don't.
Okay. Ms. Hay, do you have any comments?
So Cindy can hear a remote, but
Signal.
Okay.
just a minute.
Testing, testing.
But it's not.
Is it hooked up?
Oh, yeah, I guess loud now. It's not.
Is it working now?
Ms. Hay, can you try again? See if you can hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
She's talking, but we're still not hearing her.
Testing.
Can you
Testing.
hear me, or is it just Miss Hay you cannot hear?
Good question.
No.
Yeah.
So they can't hear any of us remotely.
No, ma'am, I don't believe they can. I'll message that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, we're working on it. Seems if it can be heard. I tested as well.
Testing. 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 Can you hear us now?
Guys hear us?
Can you hear us?
They're talking.
They're still talking.
I mean, yeah, I could see it.
I love that he can tell we're talking.
I got the professional.
Yeah, I said we can, she can. I was saying, yes, we can hear you, but we can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear, we can't hear her.
Throughout the.
It's just.
It's being difficult, you know?
Testing. Testing, testing.
I'm trying.
Let me go grab some speakers, I guess. I mean, you can get this.
Okay, we're still working, Ms. Hay. I saw that you didn't have any questions on the agenda, so I'll ask for a vote.
They're there for the time being, just so that's.
And Mr. Campbell says yes. Do you approve the agenda?
He said, yeah.
Got it.
Did she say? Okay. The agenda has been approved and we have no public comments. Now we need approval of the committee meeting minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Mr. Campbell will make a motion to approve the
March 14th.
March 4th, 2024 committee meeting minutes. Ms. Hay, would you, and you seconded? Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And there's an aye. All right. Motion carries. Okay. Monthly Board of Education report is the next item. And I think Rachel had a question about last year, the tech services licenses that are $73,259.
She was asking about our tech purchase services and
Yeah.
stuff. And what's gonna come out of that budget is our invoices for the last 2 years for county channel. We have not been invoiced. So that will come out of that as well as any new computer refreshes.
Okay. We're at 44.7% expended, and so we are well within budget. Any questions or comments on the board budget? Ms. Hay, do you have any questions or comments on the board budget? Okay.
Right, no.
Okay, Ms. Hay, would you try?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Congratulations.
Woo!
Do you have any
No,
comments?
no questions or comments.
Do you have any comments on the board budget?
No, I do not.
Okay. All those in favor of approving?
We don't
Oh, we don't need to approve that. Okay. Next item is the transparency report. Report of all. I've gone through it and I have questions. So. Do you have any questions on it, Mr. Campbell?
No.
Ms. Hayes? Yeah, do you have any questions on it?
No, I was scanning through it. I had checked for the report on Tuesday, but it wasn't uploaded yet. So I was scanning through, but I didn't see anything that looked out of the ordinary.
Okay.
So none from me at the moment.
Okay, I've got a few questions. Page 13. It's the top, called Arbiter Pay Trust Account,
Arbiter pay.
Arbiter Pay. What is
So
that?
a year or two ago, we began to pay our game officials electronically. So Arbiter is a software system that officials for ball games are scheduled. And we now, once the game is complete, the athletic director of each school approves that or signifies or in documents that the official attended and worked the game. And then it is submitted for payment for the district office. So it's an electronic
Transfer.
transmission, and that is for our referees and
Okay,
umpires.
that makes sense. How about page number 40? Got it? Internal Revenue Service. Paying the Internal Revenue Service $110 2 times. What in the world are we paying Internal Revenue Service for?
I would say that's probably wage garnishments for an IRS obligation, it's a payroll activity. Those are tax levies withheld from the IRS, so they're garnishments, IRS garnishments
Oh,
from employees.
our employees, okay? Got it. How about on that same page, James M. Wyman, trustee 42.
That is also a garnishment. I can tell by the account number, the 2245800, that's a liability account, so we
Okay,
hold it and then pay right back.
all right,
The agencies.
that makes sense.
I
How
think
about,
that's maybe like child support or something like that.
okay. How about page number 45? Mansfield Oil Company of Gainesville, and it's different fuel costs. Who is the Mansfield Oil Company and why are we? There's a number of,
Okay, so the county garage once was managed, outsourced to a company called First something. They recently changed, and I am pretty certain that this is the company that we now pay. So the county garage still exists, but it is outsourced to a different company by the county. So
okay,
that's the fuel that we go at the Shankin Road or other sites.
yeah,
across the county
Franklin,
that we
yeah.
get for our district
Okay.
vehicles and bus, including buses.
okay. And lastly, well, second to last, I got another issue, but I'm always amazed at some of the things that we buy. But this was a new one. It's on page 73. It's from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. And it goes to Whale Branch, and it's a local grant and contribution for Uncle Jim's Worm Farm, composting worms. Now, that's unusual.
That's the MUC grant.
But the,
That's the MUC the wellness grant. Okay, so or award. Remember we talked about the wellness committees last
yes,
week.
yes,
Wellness, it includes walking, nutrition, some schools make gardens.
And worms help?
So worms were purchased for the garden for compositing. So that is part of, and I would imagine that some of our schools who have like aquaponics, have greenhouses probably are going to buy some unusual things like that as well.
Okay.
So,
Well-
yes, sir. That is used for, that was purchased with grant.
Those are necessary.
So Fund 832 is a grant from MUSC Boeing, and those are
Okay.
purchased with the grant funds.
All right, just keeping you on your toes.
Yes, sir, we got it. One more.
But I have some other questions. When I go through here, I see all the Amazon, Lowe's, Sam's Club, Staples, and Walmart purchases. First question is, how, I see you've listed all of them. And there's a lot. What internal controls do you have on each of these purchases to make sure that we're not buying stuff we shouldn't be buying through any of these major vendors? Basically, we've got a whole long list at Amazon, and it says where it's going and everything else. But there, to me, is there's a risk of use of funds. So please tell me just generally how you supervise or check or audit, make sure that we buying the right thing.
So, to begin with, there has to be a requisition entered into the system stating that they're going to use an Amazon to make purchases and what those purchases are. That is then converted into a purchase order, which gives them the permission to then go and spend resources. We employ 2 individuals within our procurement office that audits every line item of this transparency report. They review the account coding, they review the allowability of the expenditure, and then they also look at all supporting documentation to make sure that there is nothing inappropriate or misuse of resources. And, for example, if there's something that should have been in student activities and it went into general fund, all those adjustments are made through that audit process. So every line item that you see on here, somebody in our office puts their eyes on it and all supporting documentation to support those. And I have a lot of confidence in those individuals. They do a phenomenal job.
Can I add though, it also goes through the accountants first with copies of the cart that they're expecting through all special revenue too, so. And then I look at it even before it gets there, so. And for allowability.
Well, you know, the county has been audited and they found some issues. And I just wanted,
We also have Staples is a state contract that we use, so they can only purchase specific things on that contract. Amazon, they have to have evidence that they can't purchase it on state contract. It has to be up, there's a threshold to get 10%. If they can buy it cheaper on Amazon for 10% cheaper, then they can go the Amazon route. Same thing with Walmart, same thing with Sam's Club.
And then we have another staff member that's not here today, but she handles all the training of all the bookkeepers, also called campus financial specialists. And so we recently were able to update our policies and procedures, put them all on the intranet so that it made it available in every category, purchasing policies and all of that. We gave them retraining on those. And so we have regular trainings with our folks. And then we have a violation policy as well. So we, as part of that, so if we see any violations, and they could be different levels of violations, minor to major, and there are different consequences of each one. So we have some internal audits going on right now as well. We're auditing every school. So we have kind of several layers of controls over that.
okay. The one thing I want to point out is that using Amazon really improves our productivity greatly because we don't go from store to store to store trying to find out one piece there and one piece there and so on. So productivity wise, it's a great benefit. The last question I have is in these big accounts, like Amazon, Lowe's, Staples is a big one, Sam's Club, Walmart. Do we get any kind of a discount because of our volume or anything?
We do have an Amazon business account, which I don't know if that
Yeah.
creates some
Yeah.
level of discount. As far as Lowe's, I think that's just, we just have a revolving credit with them or a revolving account with them that we pay. Or that we'll pay with our card. So there's no, contractor pricing. I don't believe that we get. I don't know that for sure. I'd have to.
It seemed to me that we should ask for it, because there are competitors. And we should say, give us a deal like you give any other big business, or we will,
Take our business elsewhere.
we'll go and look at another competitor who might want to give it to us. So the question is, have we asked, do we get a high volume discount from our high volume vendors?
And then Staples again is on state term contract. And
Yeah,
so
that is-
those prices are negotiated
Right.
at state level.
State, right?
We'll
Okay,
check on that. Our procurement officer will know right
Yeah.
offhand, so,
Yeah.
but we'll follow up on it
Okay.
and bring back some information next meeting.
okay. Any other questions, Mr. Campbell? Ms. Hay?
No,
Okay. All right. Next item is the consolidated report, $100,000 and over. And I really like the rationale, variances. That's very helpful on this report. Mr. Campbell or Ms. Hay, do you have any questions on this report?
I did
No.
not have any questions.
No, this is a comment. The menu is going up on rail,
Yeah.
but it's going to have a public hearing sometime next week, I think it is. 19%. No? Something.
We have budgeted an increase, but we're not sure if it's that much, but,
Yeah, I've read that too, Earl, and it's at the State House.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. I had one question from on the top of page 2. A Chrysler Voyager LX for food service from Lynn Cooper Incorporated, whoever the heck that is, $155,220. That is that a,
there were 4 vehicles purchased.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
One Chrysler Voyager for
Yes.
155.
Yeah, there's a 4 there in front of the 20.
Yeah, so
Okay, that's what the Bolex 4 is.
those are actually passenger vans, or we also use them for moving food across the county. So
Okay,
we do transport workers from one side of the county to another, wherever the need presents itself in the school. So those are transporting people and food, but there are 4 new vehicles. And we're getting ready to put the 4 replacement vehicles on
On the-
Gov Deals auction site. So these are refreshing, these are with food service funds, so they don't touch the general fund.
Right.
So with our fund balance there, so.
okay,
Mhm.
okay,
And they, I think they were slightly used, that's why it's coming from the unusual, it's not coming from a dealership.
oh, it's not,
But, because it's almost impossible to find new vehicles right now.
Yeah.
And vans,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
yeah, okay. Good. And the next one is the $100,000 report. Mr. Campbell,
I
yeah,
don't have any comment.
Ms. Hay, do you have any questions on that?
No, I do not.
Okay. We'll go on to the ESSER update with dashboard.
Turn this over to Ms. Maxon.
Okay. Well, as you can see, we are at 84% total on the ESSER 3 and 90% overall of all of our ESSERs. We are projected at 0, and you can see what we think we're going to be claiming, the blue line for each quarter. We have 2 more quarters of claiming. But Right now, you can see in the chart that's on the right-hand side of the dashboard that, there are some negative numbers there in that total where it says remaining for planned
Right.
expenditures.
Right, mental health, for example.
Like mental health and the technology refresh.
Mhm.
We are working on an amendment to take care of those. We are not gonna be claiming the rest of our indirect costs. We're gonna put it to actual direct costs. And so that's what you have some negatives on here, and I hate negatives like that, but we're in the process of the amendment to move that indirect cost to cover that. And we did a high school, part of the high school refresh out of these funds there. And so your summary page on page 2, we show that this in March, we had 2.4 million spent in the month of March, and about 8.2 left, and you can see the largest areas of spending there. And a lot of it was on that high school device refresh that they'll be rolling out. And so we feel confident getting these things expended and staying with the same approved activities that we've had. We may be able to extend them a little longer, but keeping them as the same through September 30th.
I've been told, I read that the federal government has now been tasked by the House of Representatives to conduct audits on how ESSER funds will be spent in schools. I feel very comfortable and confident that we've been passed with flying colors. Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on that?
No questions.
Ms. Hay, any questions?
No questions, only comment is I still love how organized these reports are and appreciate the summary bullet point page. So thank you.
Yeah, ditto. Very good. Okay. Administrative reg, OS 37 and 37R.
Yes, sir. So I have here with me today Ginger Weekly, and she's an accountant in the food services division. So I asked for her support in case I get any tough questions. I'm going to turn them over to her. But we actually addressed this last summer, and I, for whatever reason, did not get these moved to the finance committee. So when I was working on the wellness committee items, which were relating to nutrition as well, I realized that this one had not been brought forward. So I wanted to do that today. There's actually two here, OS 37 and OS 37R. There were very few changes in OS 37.
Right.
Substantive changes are in 37R.
Right.
And so basically what these regs dictate food service program. Our program is about a $10 million program, almost entirely funded, primarily funded with USDA dollars, US Department of Agriculture. So heavy federal guidelines and state guidelines as well. And in fact, our is she the director of nutrition?
Yeah, she's our USDA rep.
Our USDA representative came to us and visited yesterday, and so we have a good relationship, strong relationship with her, and are able to ask any questions that we may have. So this reg dictates the process of the free and reduced meal prices, eligibility for students, and that it basically states that a child cannot be denied a breakfast or lunch simply because they didn't fill out a free and reduced lunch application. So they're able to eat lunch, go into a negative status, and then we are able to accept applications. And it also talks about the community eligibility program. And I'm going to give you a little preview of this because it may, we're going to have most likely another conversation in the summer about community eligibility. This is, and I may get the language wrong, a USDA program that offers, if you qualify for the community eligibility program, school by school, and the students eat a free lunch and a free breakfast every day. Anything above that, if they want a second lunch or a snack, that would be paying students. So we currently have 21 schools. We went from 8 to 11, and then last year we went to 21 of our schools are community eligible. So they are fully free from is in terms of no cost for one breakfast, one lunch per school. It removes the free and reduced lunch application process, and it removes unpaid meal balances. So a student would not be eligible to eat a second lunch if they didn't have money on an account or have money available. So it completely removes the collections process that many of our schools have to encounter because students may eat for free, may get a lunch, excuse me, and not have money on their account. And once a student gets a tray, we cannot remove that from them. Also, another obstacle that we have is there are state rules that say that we cannot give an alternative meal. We have to give them the main meal, and we cannot prevent them from participating in other school or extracurricular activities as a result of a negative balance. So we cannot say you owe $20 on your meal balance, you can't go to prom until you pay it. We can't do that. So that is, these changes, primarily in OS 37R, update our regulations to match the state's requirements with regard to that. So both alternative meals and the inability to collect a debt and prevent a child from taking part in an extracurricular activity. So that is the primary wording. I've run these through Ms. Weekly and the legal team as well. And so these changes reflect that USDA proviso that was effective July 1, 2023. So this gets us in order, and then I can communicate back to the principals what those regulations are, because sometimes we'll see something slip through and somebody's prom is contingent upon payment. So we need to make sure we're communicating clearly to principals and bookkeepers at schools. So that is the purpose of today's changes, and just to get us up to speed. But we have also have an obligation based on, I think it's one of the last items on OS 37, is that we must annually calculate each school to see if they are eligible to participate in the CEP program, the Community Eligibility Program. And we're in the process of doing that right now. We talked to Ellen Mason of USDA yesterday. She gave us some additional information. We are waiting on, we have to make a decision whether we want to add schools, and it may include all schools. It could be all schools, but and basically from a financial perspective, we want to make sure we at least break even with that process, because you're removing paying students and adding USDA reimbursements. So the shift will be from local funding to federal funding. And we want to make sure that balance is equal or better, and we don't lose money in the program in order to do that. So the goal of the CEP program is to feed all students in a school or district at no cost for one of the others each meal. So I'll be back probably in July to talk about that. And if we make a change, it will require board approval. So that's just a little preview, but it is so there are some serious advantages to the program, and we're looking into that. So.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions?
So does this get renewed every year, the food program, as far as the free meal? Every year?
Yes. It's sort of continuous. There's no, they just they may change the meal price or the reimbursement a little bit each year. Last year, they actually reduced the USDA meal price a little bit by about 8 cents per meal, or
It was 15 cents for breakfast and 45 cents for lunch because of
a COVID
the CARES COVID.
rule that sunset. But we're anticipating an increase this year because there's nothing else to sunset, no other policies that related to COVID that will sunset. So we're expecting an increase, which should help us balance out the numbers. So we're totally relying on USDA. Unfortunately, those numbers won't come out till early July. So that's why we'll come back here in July with information for you. So.
Ms. Hay, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you, Miss Crosby.
You're welcome.
21 schools.
Anyone?
How many Title I schools do we have?
18.
Is there a disconnect between the 18 Title I and the 21?
Not necessarily. A school can be Title I eligible if their school percent of economically disadvantaged is 40% or lower. So, all of our schools but one are Title I eligible. We just don't have enough money. We still get the same amount of money so we have like a 55% cutoff for elementary versus the 40, and so CEP is on that 40% that they'll be eligible to participate.
Title I, we're not serving Title I high school. We're not serving high school with Title I. So that's a difference. We do have CEP high schools. Three CEP high schools, but our Title I program does not currently serve high schools. We serve elementary, middle.
So I'm a little confused. So we get a block of money for Title I and we distribute it on how it goes out.
On formula.
Yes.
We have a formula.
Ranking, you have to rank everybody and it's a formula.
That's an internal formula?
No.
No, it's a federal formula.
The rank, you have to rank everybody by their poverty rate. And we do grades, we call it grade span. We sort our elementary, we sort our middle, and we sort our high school. You're required to serve 75% and above, and that would only be 8 of our schools. And so we serve below the requirement, but you can serve 40% and above.
And who determines how are the poverty percentages determined?
Based on the directs, the PIP number that the state has for pupils in poverty number. There is a measure for that.
Okay, so that tells you what the measure is. How do we measure it? How do we gather the data of the number of parents?
It's based on, I get a file every month from the state. I pull it against our enrollment. And it focuses on students who are Medicaid free and reduced because of their income. It focuses on students that are on SNAP or meal benefits.
Is that EBT?
Yeah, EBT, or if they're homeless, foster, migrant. But there's a little code over in the file that I get from the state.
So, okay, still a little confused. So how, if I come in and enroll my child in school, who asks me what my income is? Who asks me? Nobody. I mean, how do we know who is eligible? Who has certain?
I won't know, and you won't know until the state gives us the file and says your
Where does
student
the
is.
state? I mean,
Where's it get state to get the data? They
I think
they have to know,
ESS.
but they have to know who's enrolled in our school, so we would take the enrollment data and send to the state, and they would match it up with other information on that child.
Do they get that from the data specialist when they get the enrollment?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that goes into our school with the different coding systems?
Yes.
Only on the free. I understand why it's confusing because there's a lot to it there. There are ways to look at poverty and there's called the direct certification. And there's also the free and reduced the lunch applications, or ways to determine poverty. Direct certification is verifiable. It's done by another entity.
Not even me, it's
not-
not by the state.
It's done by a government entity, maybe it's the Social Security Office, or I don't know who does it, but that's the information they get back to us on that. And so you have a student that is certified directly by a government entity. The free and reduced applications are reviewed internally on the schools that are not CEP for that, to determine that. And they do not have to give you proof
No.
on the free and reduced applications. You take what is given there, but I think there is an audit
There is a
process.
so every November I do verification of students who do for the non-CEP schools, because the CEP school, you do not have to do a meal application because you're participating in the community eligibility program. There are no meal applications for those schools, and those parents don't have to prove what their income is in order to receive a meal at no cost. Because the state's already said the majority of the students in the school are considered directly certified in one of those categories. So we filed to make that school a no-cost breakfast and lunch for those students. The ones that are not CEP, if you went to enroll your student, for example, at Pritchardville, they would ask you to fill out a meal application form. And if a parent does have SNAP benefits, I may or may not have her already uploaded in the system saying that they're directly certified. Or maybe she just got her SNAP benefits and I haven't gotten it yet. She puts her SNAP benefit on her application, which will make her automatically free. So there's other guidelines for me that I have to follow through the state. And in November, I pull a sampling of the applications that we processed, and I have to get verification of that income, or that mother with a SNAP benefit would have to send me her SNAP letter to prove that she's on SNAP.
Well, you know, I could really see somebody coming to me and saying, the welfare state's out of control and that there's not. Now, I fully believe that we need to make sure that we serve all of our students. But you know, I can get some very tough questions about this. How do you know? Are we feeding rich people in Hilton Head? Are we feeding rich kids
I
too?
had that question because our Hilton Head schools are free, not free, no cost on CEP. And again, I got my file from the state, and that pocket in Hilton Head does have that directly certified free students, not directly certified reduced. They don't take the reduced numbers. They're only looking at the free students. So that pocket over there, even though we all believe Hilton Head to have a lot of wealth, there was also a lot of poverty in Hilton Head. And,
Absolutely correct.
you know, so I can show them my state file that the state says these students that attend this school are in poverty.
That's why we call it community eligibility, not individual eligibility. Community, that's
Because you live in this community with a certain
that
percentage.
has real high.
Everybody gets it because we don't want to discriminate or
You can't.
all you poor kids line up here. All you rich kids line up.
We can't overly identify a student.
Yeah.
So we can't even do that at a regular school,
Right.
whether a student's free or reduced. Now, also have had the conversation, some of you may have heard it as well. Coosaw is the only school on this side that is not CEP,
Right.
because their students, their students in poverty are at a very low rate compared to the rest of Beaufort.
Right. Well, it also, you go to the student advisory committees and I hear kids that are getting free lunches complain about the meals. That kind of bothers me. You know, you have the choice. You can bring your own lunch, you know, and quit sniveling about not enough pizza.
Or too much.
Okay, I think that for the full board at our next meeting in the finance committee report, can you come up and give your concern about what's going to change in summertime? I really think we need to educate the other board members that aren't in the finance committee, but also the public as to what this program's about and how it's determined and so on.
I do want to continue to monitor the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And see, but I don't want to give any false hopes of everyone.
Everybody.
So I'll be careful about
Yeah.
that language, but
Yeah.
this does require us to review it annually, and we are, and so that will be looked at very carefully, but it will take a few more months in order to get more data, to the final data that we need to make decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this topic?
No.
Ms. Hay?
No, and I agree 100% with your recommendation to present to the full board. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last item is future topics. Mr. Campbell, you have any future topics?
I can't think of anything now. I do, I'll let you.
Okay. Ms. Hay, you have anything?
I do not. Thank you.
I would ask that the next meeting that we get a breakout by school of our Title I schools, what each school gets. And what the formula that used to derive that. So, because now that I know that it's one pot of money that's we can divvy out, I'd like to see the numbers, and I'd like to see the methodology that drives the numbers. So I can talk to people about that, because I get some of the principals that said, I think I should be able to get Title I money. Okay, well, I say, well, I don't know how it's done. So if we could add that as a topic next time. Okay. Yes, and you have some.
I do, yes, sir. Third quarter financial report for the current fiscal year. And a resolution for grant authorization, that we have that annually, so we just need to do that ceremonial approval for the grant authorization. That's.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further and unanimous consent, any objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Still the worm farm.
I don't see any strange critters come across.
Yeah.